If you want to hear about my 12 days with these 3 palettes, then stick around. Let's get this out of the way. If you like the content in this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like the content on this channel in general, please consider subscribing. That would be fantastic. Okay, let's get into it. I spent 12 days with 3 palettes. The Sunbleached, the Vintage Filter, and the Overcase Filter. These are 3 palettes from Sephora, and I purchased them, I believe, early last year. No, early this year, I think. Long story short, they were on clearance in the sale section, and I was still trying to figure out, I think it was last year, I was still trying to figure out what eyeshadows I liked. And these 3 were, first off, in really good packaging, very strong packaging, and they were all 3 very different. So let me just remind you, if you haven't seen the intro, or if you have seen the intro, still remind you of what they look like. So this is the Sunbleached. Here is the Vintage. And finally, the Overcast. So what I started off doing is I started off using the palettes individually. And I tried to use every single one of the shades in the palettes before moving on. So I was using between 3 and 5 shadows at a time. So if you do the math, it took me over a week or so to get through all 3. Because sometimes I was successful, sometimes I was not. The first one I went with was the Overcast Filter. The second one was the Vintage Filter. And the third one, my least favorite, probably in part because of the time of year it is, was the Sunbleached Filter. We are in the fall when I'm recording this, and so I was prone to wanting to use the darker colors. Now, I ended up going through each palette one after the other, trying not to use shades from the other palettes, and so I was using 3 to 5 shades a day. So it took me a little over a week to get through all 3 of them, and that I was done. Then I started mixing and matching, and what I found was that these 3 palettes are quite complementary. They don't have a ton of overlap. Even one of the shades, which is Secret Boudoir, it's interesting because it has the same name, but they're actually 2 different colors in the 2 palettes. So there is no overlap whatsoever except for one name. Now, I don't know if that was accidental or intentional, but they are different. Well, at least in the palettes that I received. Let me show you. So here are side by side. There we go. Side by side, these Secret Boudoir, and you'll see that they're materially different. I mean, they're in the same kind of family as far as their light colors, but they are definitely different undertones. One is more neutral and the other one is cooler. So all in all, what did I think of the palettes? I think they are average. I do have some of the shades on my eye today. I am wearing Coffee Break as my crease and outer lid color. I am wearing Flagstone on my brow bone. And I am wearing 2 more colors from the Sunbleached palette, which is Latergram, this one, and also one that was intriguing to me that I didn't really give enough attention to was Walk in the Sand, because I realized that it has quite a bit of loose shimmer / glitter in it, and I wanted to get a little bit more shine on my eye. You'll notice there's not a ton of shine today. I was just trying to do somewhat of a minimal eye look, so I didn't pack these colors on all that much. So what do I think of these 3 palettes? I think that they are reasonably solid. If you want a deep look, you can. I did a couple of really nice smoky eyes with them. Actually, I think that the 4 or 5 grays across all three are very nice, including one that is quite bright and silvery. So I think for grays, I would think of this set of 3 palettes just as much as I think of the Naked Smoky, which is saying something. And I think some of the olive greens are not bad. Olive green and kind of taupey shades are fine too. I did find a couple of the very light mattes quite powdery. I mean, super powdery, to be quite frank, without a ton of color payoff. But I would say they're average. I wouldn't say they're really bad. I wouldn't say they're very good. I would say that they're average. They're solid palettes. I would not have any trouble passing them on to someone and saying, you know, I think these are good. I really like the packaging, definitely. I think that it's very solid, big mirror. I think that Sephora did a good job with it. I love the fact that a number of the colors are identified on the back of the package as being Sephora favorites. So that tells you a lot. And actually, let me just take a look at what the favorites are. Oh, well, there you go. One of the favorites is Coffee Break, which I told you about. And Secret Boudoir was also identified as a favorite, but both of them with the same color, so I don't know. And then Walking in the Sand, which is the kind of shimmery, almost glittery, micro glitters in it that I was really curious about, is also a favorite. Interestingly enough, none of the grays that I was interested in are identified as favorites. Well, maybe they're just my favorites. Am I okay with having spent 12 days with these palettes? Absolutely. I really wanted to thoroughly try them. I hadn't. I dabbled in each of them, but I had not really thoroughly tried the set of 3. I even extended the use of these palettes beyond the use of the Joe Fresh line, which I think says something. I wanted to continue, not just use it as a companion to the Joe Fresh Brand New Focus. So they did merit, as a standalone, they did merit attention. And I think that's all I have to say about them. Solid product, good packaging, good performance. Knowing what I know now, would I go out and repurchase? I would say no, and that is because I have a lot of these colors in my collection in other palettes. And I definitely have the Naked Smoky to do that gray smoky eye. Yeah, I'm happy with them. I will likely end up passing them on to a friend, not a foe, because I do like them. I don't think they're bad. I just think they're likely to get somewhat neglected in my collection after today. I guess we'll find out later in the year. I think if I do a year-end recap of what I used, I may have some thoughts about whether I went back to these palettes or not. So there you have it, 12 days of the Sephora Collection filter palettes. I enjoyed it, I don't regret it, and I hope you found the intro and this video informative as well, even though they're discontinued. But like I said, some of these colors were Sephora favorites and are likely to have popped up or are popping up here and there once in a while. I should go and take a look if some of the new reformulated singles bear those names. I will do that. I'm really curious now, because if they're favorites would tend to keep going as kind of classics for Sephora, I would imagine. Anyway, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I thank you very much for your time and attention. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. But for now, take care.